Let's set the scene. The year is 2015. Scott Cawthon is snorting great quantities of the Stephen King powder. You see, FNaF 3 was a great final chapter in his story. A satisfying ending to a well-hidden yet simple story about 5 children and their killer. But there was just one problem. The jump scare was cheap. This could not be. Scott had to right his wrong. But if you've seen Full Metal Alchemist, you'll know that the law of equivalent exchange cannot be ignored. FNaF giveth and FNaF taketh away, and the sacrifice made to create a satisfying horror experience in the next game was that the story became utterly incomprehensible.
Why is Foxy out of order in FNaF 1? Well, the plushie he's based on is missing its head.
And nothing exemplifies that better than one Psychic Friend Fredbear. Hi there, I'm TDreader, and this is the 5th part in my FNaF interpretation series. You can catch the last part in the info card here. Now then, without further delay, let's delve into the many interpretations of this plush.
I got no lore, I got no presents, I got no lore because I made the whole shit up, and now MadPat's fucking pregnant.
So, what do we know about him? Let's go in order. The first thing the Fredbear Plush does is speak to us sympathetically. He says,
"What did he do this time? He locked you in your room again. Don't be scared. I am here with you."
The tone of these lines is very important. These are clearly meant to be soothing and caring messages to the bite victim from whatever this is. My immediate assumption, with my knowledge of the future, is that this is William, the bite victim's father, speaking to him in the soothing way a parent would to their young child. There are 2 immediate problems here, though. First, William is shown to care about other people exactly never times in the other material, and immediately after this, we are treated to a pair of possessed eyes, reminiscent of the FNaF 1 animatronics. These eyes and the plush follow the bite victim around wherever he goes. This seems to suggest that this thing is, in some way, supernatural. This idea is further supported in the second minigame, where the plush begins its habit of teleporting everywhere. This itself brings up the question of how literally these games are to be taken. Does the plush teleport into frame simply because it would look weird to animate the crying child carrying it everywhere? Or is this indeed meant to imply that the plush is supernatural? I lean towards the second interpretation due to the possessed eyes, which are a deliberate design choice. If the plush is meant to be a ghost or agony or something other than William, this behavior can also be explained under the "thing in your head is with you everywhere you go" trope. Think of the Green Goblin from Spider-Man. The Goblin talks to Norman through his helmet and his reflection in the mirror on several occasions without manifesting as a physical goblin that would be beating it into the audience. Similarly, it's possible that this plush isn't literally following the crying child everywhere. Rather, its appearance in the background of every frame is meant to symbolize that whatever is possessing it is connected directly to the crying child's mind and is with him wherever he goes. Like Norman, he can see this other entity and talk to it when it's not present physically. This idea explains the plush's deep knowledge of the crying child's emotions and thoughts. Remember the lines.
You know he's hiding again. He knows you hate it here.
Hi, it's me in post-production. Real quick, turns out I'm just 100% right. This thing has to be, like, at least partially some sort of supernatural entity attached to the bite victim's mind. Or, if you believe in arcade theory, some insane shit that I don't want to get into. It's in the 3rd minigame, talking to us, but is nowhere to be seen. Whatever this thing is, it must have and pardon me for saying this,
I entered inside of him, dog.
of the bite victim. You can see quite clearly that the bite victim's getting messages from this plush, even though it's nowhere on screen. The last minigame of importance is the last one, where the crying child dies and Fredbear does his whole
I will put you back together
speech. To be completely honest, looking back on this, here's what made the most sense to me narratively at the time of the game's release. I suspect that the crying child was the last death in the timeline. The first Freddy's had already opened and closed due to the MCI, and was open at the same time as Fredbear's Family Diner. The fact that this game takes place in a Fredbear's doesn't mean anything regarding this theory. If you remember, in Sister Location, they say that
due to the massive success, and even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
So, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has recently closed. But what else do we see? In the camera room, we see the walk to Fredbear's Family Diner is powered by the same power supply as this bunker. Regardless of when the game takes place, this dialogue tells us that Freddy Fazbear's Pizza has already closed at the time that Circus Baby's Entertainment and Rental and Fredbear's Family Diner are operative, with the gray dots meant to represent Fredbear and Spring Bonnie still on stage in the establishment. I have seen just about nobody mention those two facts together. Hi, and also if we're looking for evidence from before FNaF 5, which we are, Phone Guy in FNaF 3 says that a sister location had a spring lock failure. 2 employees of Freddy's Nuts. So there you go. Even in FNaF 3, we knew that Fredbear's Family Diner was open around the same time. The crying child was close with his friends, all of which were the MCI kids. And he cries all the time because all of his friends have recently died. He was closest with the spirit that was possessing Golden Freddy, which is why that is the plush that talks to him throughout the game. The "We are still your friends" line from the last minigame, that's the spirit possessing Golden Freddy, saying that they, and the other 4 animatronic plushes behind them, meant to represent his other friends who also died in the MCI, remain his friends in death. This would make it kind of poetic that the bite victim also dies in a Fredbear suit. Kind of, you know what I mean, dies because of it. His best friend died in a Fredbear suit as well. Look at the content of these mini-games, and particularly that last one, without taking into account any information from after FNaF 4, and tell me that doesn't make sense. I often focus on other people's interpretations in these videos, but that's mine. The crying child was originally supposed to be the last death, and the plush is his best friend who stays with him. Now though, after Sister Location, FNaF 6, and Ultimate Custom Night, I have absolutely no idea. So let's turn to the community for some help. Imaginary plush. This is the theory that the plush is created entirely in the crying child's mind. This would be another way to explain its ability to teleport and have an understanding of the inner workings of the crying child's mind. I don't think this was ever intended to be the takeaway, but narratively it's the saddest option. A lonely, sad kid who, up until his death, truly has nobody to talk to. No parental figure, and a bullying older brother. Of course, moving into Sister Location, we have the reveal that the Fredbear plush is indeed a real object with possessed eyes, making it much more likely that it's either William that talks through it because it's in his bunker, or a spirit talking through it because of the possessed eyes on it, or both. More on that later. Agony Plush. This is the theory that the plush is given life by the crying child's agony due to his life situation. We see that agony can cause objects to become possessed via Taggart's experiments in the Frights novels. Case in point, the Stitch Wraith. Perhaps, with this being his favorite plush, the crying child has cried and poured all of his agony into it, and it's gained consciousness or something. I don't know, it's kinda weird. Charlie Plush. This is the idea that Charlie is speaking through the plush. And this one's interesting. The puppet also has been shown with black eyes and white pupils when jump-scaring the player in FNaF 2, and the plush talks to the crying child, often in a comforting way, saying things like, "No need to be scared," and "We're still your friends." If we believe that the crying child is the receiver of Happiest Day, then we also have previous knowledge that tells us the puppet and Fredbear, and the puppet and the crying child, have a special connection. There is some character overlap here, and I think this theory is worth considering, but Scott has done absolutely nothing in subsequent games to make us think this is the correct option. The plush being in the sister location bunker is definitely a wrench in this theory. The only thing I could consider possibly being a hint towards this is that in Help Wanted 2, in the secret sister location room, 1983 grants you a puppet plush, and the Psychic Friend Fredbear plushie is not in the office. Maybe this is meant to represent that the puppet and the Psychic Friend Fredbear plush, that's not there, are one and the same, but I think it's more meant to point to the fact that Charlie died in 1983. Shadow Plush. Oh god. This comes from the FNaF Theory Reddit. As a good rule of thumb, if anything comes from the FNaF Theory Reddit, it is likely the musings of a crack addict. This theory posits that the Fredbear plush is evil. The same evil, agonizing energy that creates the shadow animatronics has possessed the Fredbear plush and is perpetuating the state of the big evil. The comforting lines? Lies! It's gaslighting the crying child, seeking to gain his trust and attachment. This is why the Fredbear plush is always encouraging the crying child to seek out and be scared by Michael. He's feeding off him, I guess. The Fredbear plush is also shown to have a malevolent grin in the survival logbook, and I agree, he doesn't look very friendly there. Bad Fredbear plush. I don't believe this theory, because you kind of have to stretch your interpretation of the text pretty far to get there, especially at the time of the game's release. But what do you think? Is some otherworldly manifestation of evil preying on this little boy's fears? Cassidy Plush. The theory that Cassidy, the possessor of Golden Freddy, speaks to the crying child through the plush. This theory is often tag-teamed with the idea that Cassidy is not the vengeful spirit, but essentially the bootleg puppet. As the puppet works to help the main four, and not Golden Freddy, as seen in the Save Them minigame, Cassidy works mainly on helping the bite victim. The Fredbear plush seems to be able to teleport, similar to how Golden Freddy is able to teleport in the games and movie. However, the survival logbook actually works against this theory. The Fredbear plush knows a lot about the crying child while he's alive, and Cassidy asks a lot about the crying child when he's dead. Was your favorite toy a telephone? Was your favorite ride the carousel? This is not how the plush talks, and the nail in the coffin, when the Fredbear plush pops up in the logbook, Cassidy asks, does he still talk to you? Shouldn't she know the answer to that question, if she's the plush? If we're going with dual process theory's interpretation that this is Charlotte asking the crying child, who is Cassidy, a question, then this would make more sense. But that would leave the identity of Golden Freddy and the Fredbear Plush a little more up in the air. Or maybe it's Andrew! Will Plush. Remember in the Shadow Plush section where I said that the plush was an evil entity, playing nice with the crying child to gain his trust? Well, that narrative can still apply here. Now, I don't think William is the plush for like 90% of the game because of, well, everything about it, but I am willing to accept that he's the speaker of the "I will put you back together" line. We see that both Michael and potentially Cassidy turn this line back on him later.
I put her back together, just like you asked me to.
In Sister Location, and
Let me put you back together, then take you apart all over again.
in Ultimate Custom Night as Nightmare Fredbear. It seems that this line is very relevant to the Aftons. It would also explain the text color on this line being slightly different than the others. And obviously, it explains the plush being in William's workspace in his bunker. Now for a short news section, just for this video, simply titled, "Help Me." You see, there are questions surrounding the context of this entity that I truly cannot comprehend no matter how many interpretations I read. If "I will put you back together" is spoken by William, why does Yellow Eyes say it in FNaF World? Yellow Eyes seems to be well-intentioned, while William definitely is not. Is Yellow Eyes Michael? Or Cassidy again? If the crying child dies in 1983, which he likely does thanks to some of Scott's comments on MatPat's old video, how could there be a spirit possessing the plush other than maybe Charlotte? Or this kid who might have died in this suit? Yes, that's a body. If it is the kid in the suit, is that kid Cassidy? They don't have black hair, though. If Cassidy is the plush, is she also the vengeful spirit? Or are they separate characters? If the plush is only William, as is suggested by it sitting on his desk, and by Didophobia, why are we constantly shown it being teleported around? Why can CC hear this plush, even when it's not present? What the hell is this thing? I'd love to say it doesn't matter anymore, but the plush is clearly there in the Sister Location bunker in the next game. Scott kept it around for a reason, even if he retconned other elements of that story. So I've scoured the internet, and now I'm coming to you guys. What do you guys think this plush is supposed to be? You thought I was done? Scott, you thought you could escape after this? Should I do it? Yeah, I'm doing it. Hey Scott, real quick. You can't do this, man. This is dumb. When Michael goes here, Freddy's is closed, but Fredbear's is still getting power, with the small white dot representing that CC is alive at the time the bunker is operative. But you've gone on record to confirm that the 1983 wall code is a reminder of the date that the bite victim was bitten. You cannot have all of those at the same time. Why would Fredbear's still be open if the bite victim died? Was that not enough to close it, because it was an accident? Why are there several Springlock Golden Freddy suits? There's this one on stage, even though the one in the back room has something in it. Why is Michael coming down to the bunker and not William? We know that William can't be spring-locked right now because of the breaker map, where the Spring Bonnie animatronic is still on stage. Did William send Michael down because William's under suspicion of the MCI and can't move right now? If that's the case, then this likely takes place sometime around 1983 to 1985. But that would also mean that Michael Afton gets sent to the bunker at most 2 years after he kills his brother. He'd be like 16 here, and you want me to believe that William did the MCI and is now under suspicion by the police, but brought the yellow rabbit suit used to kill the children back to the original Fredbear's Family Diner and is running the place as normal, as like a cover-up? When people saw the springlock suit that he's currently putting on the stage again? Luring kids? You didn't think this through, did you? This makes no sense. You gotta be clearer than this. You shouldn't have put Fredbear's on the breaker map. It fucks with everything. Oh god, I just remembered. The fun times. So you want me to think it's 1983 and Michael's like 14. But then his father's like, actually, this is a good opportunity to find out how to be immortal. So I'm gonna go and kill 5 kids. Uh-oh, the police are onto me. So I'm gonna go back, pack my Spring Bonnie suit in a duffel bag or something, and then dismantle the animatronics so the police can't find the bodies in them. And now I'm gonna melt them down into my new robots so the police can't find the bodies ×2. But my son Michael, you actually have to go down into the bunker where my Funtime robots already are possessed while you're like 16 or something, and do something while I've already disposed of the evidence. So at this point, I should be spring-locked because I was trying to do all that shit, but also, I left the Spring Bonnie suit on stage at Fredbear's, which you can currently see as being something currently powered, so I guess I had a backup suit, I guess. But also, back in 1983, I was already killing kids maybe because of this thing in the back room. Of course, my dear son, unless Molten MCI isn't canon, and the rental service is the way in which I gathered all of the Remnant for the Funtime animatronics, who originally did not have Remnant. This, my dear son, would explain the Spring Bonnie suit still being on stage while the Funtimes exist. Because I would not have needed to get the Remnant from the kids yet that would have killed me to power them, but also, oh no, my dear son Michael Afton, my son Michael, if Molten MCI wasn't canon, it wouldn't make much sense for there to be a gravestone ending showing 5 dead kids and Charlotte at the end of FNaF 6, would it? That most certainly does imply that it happened. But if this is indeed the Spring Bonnie animatronic, my dear son Michael, there is one way I could have pulled this off. If directly in the previous 5 days I went and gathered Remnant and brought it home 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 and then went back to my bunker to inject all 5 Funtime animatronics with the Remnant. Then I told you to go down here, and I had the house to myself for a few days, so I jerked off for 2 days, and then on night 3, I took my Spring Bonnie suit and went to go fucking die. Oh, and my dear son Michael, I forgot to tell you that your brother actually was not dead when I built this bunker. As you can see, this is the FNaF 4 neighborhood, and there's a white dot in this bedroom representing that the crying child is still alive at the time the breaker map, and thus Circus Babies Entertainment and Rental, is up and operative. I also have this Fredbear Plush in my room, which I'm using to watch the crying child who's still alive while I'm running my Remnant experiments. Now, my dear son Michael, I understand you must be confused, because the bunker opened because of the 1985 MCI, but when I build it, I'm still watching the crying child who died in 1983, which should be impossible. Of course, I'm mostly joking around here, and I think this was an accident, because if it wasn't, that would imply that the MCI happened in 1983. And even though that would offer an explanation for the Fredbear Plush looking possessed, but it feels like that can't be the case due to 2 book series, and in Help Wanted, we have this Faz token that says the franchise was established in 1983. Hand Unit says that Freddy's was a massive success, and that's what spurred the creation of the bunker. But how could it be a massive success if it was open for less than a year? I'm going insane. Make sure you subscribe and go to the community tab so you can vote on the topic for the next video. My email, voiceover Fiverr, and optional memberships with perks are in the description below. Also, if you haven't already, leave a theory or a thought in the comments. For my next video, I want to review some of the comments on this video at the very end. It'll be like a fun, interactive segment for us. Thank you all so much for tuning in again, and I'll see you next time.
My name is Freddy. My name is Freddy. Yeah, I'm Freddy by 87. Hey yo, I'm Freddy Fazbear. I am also Freddy